Good afternoon and welcome to the Chelmsford High School Alumni Association's 30th Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I'm George Simonian, Principal Emeritus of CHS and the Executive Director of the Alumni Association. Also on the stage with me is Steve Murray, the current Principal of CHS and a graduate from the class of '88, as well as a Hall of Famer himself. Would you all please join me in welcoming the class of 2021 Hall of Fame inductees. Keith Alcorn, class of 1997. Cara Campbell, class of 1996. Matthew Chesler, class of 1991. The next inductee is Daniel Curran, class of 1991, but he's not here this afternoon because he has a commitment. He's coaching the Merrimack College football team at this very moment. Rebecca Friedman, class of 1998. She could not be with us. She had a previous wedding commitment out in California, so she couldn't be here today. Terry McSheehy, class of 1964. Stanley Anderkunis, class of 1964. Jeffrey Parks, class of 1991. Jennifer Clancy Pedro Roy, class of 2000. Mr. Dory, would you please sit? That's an inside joke. Good afternoon again, everyone. I have the high honor and the great pleasure to be here today to preside at our 30th Hall of Fame ceremony. This afternoon, the Chelmsford High School Alumni Association is going to honor 9 more most worthy alums. Alumni spanning the years from 1964 to 2000. Inductees from Chelmsford, Massachusetts to Los Angeles, California, from Dunstable, Massachusetts to Charlotte, North Carolina, to Santa Monica, California, again to Chelmsford, Massachusetts. Our Hall of Fame recognizes alumni from all walks of life. We recognize alumni who distinguished themselves while they were in high school, alumni who have distinguished themselves in their profession, alumni who have distinguished themselves in their community, and sometimes all three. We also recognize Chelmsford High School teachers and administrators who over the years while at the high school worked to make our high school, Chelmsford High School, the great educational institution that it is today. A high school that continues to set standards of excellence in all areas of secondary education, namely the 3 A's, the academics, the arts, and athletics. The Alumni Association also recognizes individuals and organizations who over the years have given generous and continuous support to the students at Chelmsford High School with the Lucy E. Simonian Golden Lion Award. It is now my pleasure to introduce our Alumni Association President, Terry McSheehy.
Yeah. You're fine. Good afternoon, honorees, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 30th Annual Hall of Fame Induction Dinner. We are pleased that you are here this afternoon. This is going to be an outstanding evening with 8 great inductees who will once again show you the extraordinary individuals that Chelmsford High School prepares and gives to the world. And then there's me. I'm always inspired and humbled by the depth and breadth of the inductees' credentials. This afternoon is a showcase of the wonderfully creative and caring individuals Chelmsford High School has produced and continues to produce, whether they are students or faculty. These 9 individuals are examples of the success of Chelmsford High School. We received tremendous support from the high school administration, in particular from Superintendent Dr. Jay Lang, the principal, Steve Murray, and the deans, Josh Blagg, Erin McNeil, and John McIsaac. It is this close working relationship that allows the CHSAA to thrive as it continues on its path towards what we hope will be the ability to function without a dues structure. I want to take this opportunity to thank Paul Cohen and the Board of Selectmen and the school committee for their continuing support of this event and also of the Alumni Association as a whole. As I have said in the past, the one thing I have learned from coming to this dinner year after year is that you appreciate brevity. Therefore, without further delay, let me call back Mr. Simonian.
I would now like to introduce the principal of Chelmsford High School, our own Steve Murray, from the class of '88. Steve?
Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you to the Alumni Association, Mr. Simonian and Mr. McSheehy. Congratulations to all our inductees today. It's great that we can come in person and celebrate this. It's also a privilege and an honor for me to be here. The Alumni Association works hard to support our students, both by providing financial assistance and professional guidance. And on behalf of Chelmsford High School students, I want to say thank you to the Alumni Association. I'd like to take a few moments to go over some highlights we've had in the past year or so for Chelmsford High School. Academically, 94% of the class of 2021 went on to postgraduate studies. We offer over 21 advanced placement courses where most similar institutions offer half that and much less. Almost 300 of our students participated in over 550 AP exams. And again, Chelmsford High School is commended for offering a wide selection of AP courses that are accessible to a wide range of students, all while performing at a very high level. This shows the dedication of our teachers and the scholarship of our students. And speaking of scholarships, the National Merit Scholarship Program was very successful. We had 11 students last year who were commended. We had 1 National Merit Scholarship semifinalist and 1 National Merit Scholarship finalist. And one of the things I love about Chelmsford High School is we're always bringing new programs in to support our students. And this year, we're starting a new program called our Innovations Pathways. And this is led by 2 really talented curriculum coordinators. One of them is John Morris, our science coordinator, K-12, who's also an alumni of Chelmsford High School. And the other one is Stephanie Quinn, our social science or history coordinator. They've been working with the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education for this Innovations Pathways program. And it's for students interested in 2 pathways, business and finance or information technology. The Innovation Pathways are designed to give students coursework and experience in specific high-demand industries, such as information technology, engineering, healthcare, life sciences, and advanced manufacturing. This program is open to all freshmen and sophomores. The program is designed to create strong partnerships with employers in order to expose students to career options and help them develop knowledge and skills related to their field choice of study, and to do this before they graduate. This will help students make informed decisions about their life after high school. And students participating in this program will culminate their senior year in an internship the last quarter. This is our first year, and I look forward to the successes of all our students in the future. And speaking of successes we've offered, as I mentioned 2 years ago at this function, we have a dual enrollment program with Middlesex Community College. In dual enrollment, it offers our students the ability to take college-level classes at Chelmsford High School, taught by Chelmsford High School teachers, and earn college credits for that class. And that can be quite a savings for families, knowing that colleges are never cheap. So now, in the fall of 2021, Where we had 5 dual enrollment classes 2 years ago, we now have 20 classes of dual enrollment to offer our kids, with more anticipated next year. And I'm very happy to say that Chelmsford High School is traveling again. CHS has been known for many years and decades, thanks to Mr. Simonian, for our exchange program. Over the last 2 decades, that went to a little lull, but now we're back in and we're ready to travel abroad. Led by our World Language Coordinator, Jess Nolet, in our World Language Department, we are now moving forward. We have trips planned to Spain, Costa Rica, Peru, and France this year. And Jess Nolet wants our students to have the best experience they can get. So this year, she started a visiting teacher program. So we have 2 teachers from Spain who are visiting us and teaching here and joining our teaching ranks for the next 3 years. And I can't think of a better way for students to understand and grasp a world language than to have a study abroad program, as well as having visiting teachers here speak in the native language. And athletically, Chelmsford keeps a strong tradition of sports excellence alive. We have one of the largest athletic programs in Massachusetts, with 32 different sports, 64 different teams, and a student athletic training program. I'll give you a few highlights from our past spring. Chelmsford High School finished its most challenging year in memory, but we had an amazing sports season. This past spring, we had records for the history books. We had 3 teams that went undefeated in the regular season: boys volleyball, boys lacrosse, and girls lacrosse. And this past spring, we had 4 MVC championships for baseball, boys volleyball, boys lacrosse, and girls lacrosse. And our girls lacrosse team, we're so proud of them. They won their 3rd straight MIAA North Sectional Championship, and it is a true season to remember. So we're very happy to come out of the pandemic and seeing kids on the field again. It's an honor to be a principal at Chelmsford High School, and I would not have this level of success, and our kids would not have this level of success without the talented staff we have here, and without the work of our middle school teachers and elementary teachers. They really build the way and pave the way for us, and definitely would not be successful without the support of our parents and the Alumni Association. So enough about me. I want to hear about the folks on stage. I want to say congratulations and enjoy the afternoon. Thank you.
Keith Alcorn, Chelmsford High School class of 1997. Keith was an outstanding hockey player when he was at CHS. His efforts helped his team to the MVC and state championships. As an individual, he was named an All-Star and Player of the Year. Keith also helped out with younger kids in summer roller hockey, both teaching skills and making it fun. He went on to play hockey at Norwich University as well. While there, he set numerous records and was named All-American all 4 seasons. Keith was named to the Norwich Hall of Fame in 2016. Following college, he had a very successful 17-year professional career in the NHL, AHL, and with European teams. He played in 6 American Hockey League All-Star Classics and was the 7th leading scorer in AHL history upon retirement. At all levels, he was an active and willing participant in charitable activities. When asked about Keith, those who have known him praise his work ethic, positive attitude, integrity, and his determination. My pleasure, Keith Alcorn.
Well, I got the worst public speaker going first, so it's only going to get easier for you guys. So, yeah, I mean, I can get in front of a locker room, I can get in front of my coaches, the team that I coach, and it's real easy, but doing this is really getting me out of my comfort zone, so bear with me. First, I'd like to thank the CHS Alumni Association for this great honor. Anytime that you're inducted to a Hall of Fame, you've done something right. I've lived here since I was 12 years old, and when I was playing, I'd come back for the summer, train, and come back when the season was over. So I've been here for a long time, and I don't think I'll be leaving anytime soon. Both kids are in school here, and we really like it here, so I don't think we'll be going anywhere. And thanks to George for the nomination to get inducted into Hall of Fame. It's a great honor, and George, I really appreciate it. Thank you. First, then I'd like to congratulate all the inductees. Like I said, it's a great honor to go into this class with you guys, and something we'll have for the rest of our lives. So congratulations to everybody inducted today. I'd like to thank my parents first. probably the two hardest working people that I know. They still work 9 to 5. They always have, and supported me throughout my career. I think in my career, starting from high school, if you can go back there, I played over 1,600 games when I retired, and they probably saw about 90% of those, which was either live, online, or in person. So without them getting me up at 6 in the morning growing up, getting to the rinks, I'm doing that now with my kids. That's where they are right now at hockey games. So I know how hard it is to get the kids up every morning at 5 to get them to the rink at 6. So now I know what they went through to get me to where I am today. So I want to thank them. Second, I'd like to thank my wife and my 2 kids. Being an athlete, they go through the wins and the losses with you. So every time I lost, but there's a lot of losses, I brought that home with me, and they had to put up with me. So, you know, she's the rock of the family, and we wouldn't be here without her. So I have to thank her and my kids who traveled a lot. We went from Chicago to Switzerland to Germany. So we've been around quite a bit, and I want to thank them for all, you know, the help. They kind of made me who I am. Lastly but not least, I have to thank Jack Fletcher. Jack Fletcher was my high school coach. Kind of comes all back to here. I remember my first day as a freshman in high school, and I was sitting in my last name is First, so I'm First, obviously. And first time I met him, he came out to me and he's like, "Are you Keith O'Coin that everybody's talking about?" I go, "I guess I am. I don't know." He's like, "Wow, you're small." I was like, "Oh, thank you." So, but I've had that going throughout my career, and without the help of Jack Fletcher and, you know, moving to Chelmsford, I don't know if I would have ended up at Norwich. His connections really got me there with Coach McSheehy, and he being a graduate of Norwich. So I owe a lot of my career to him, leading me to go to Norwich. If I didn't go there and have the support staff at Norwich to develop me as a player and a person, I don't think I would be here today. So, and I know Jack Fletcher's done a lot of help with a lot of kids in this area, and he's just an amazing person, and I'd have to thank him. He's a big part of my career and the person I am today. To this day, my first championship I won was in 1995. We played St. John Shrewsbury in the state championship, and as a kid growing up, my favorite place to play was to be at the Boston Garden. And I got that opportunity to play at the Boston Garden in 1995 when we won the state championship as a sophomore. And that's one of those things you'll never forget as a kid growing up. You just want to play at the Boston Garden. I was able to do that here in Chelmsford. It was a great honor to do that and win a championship. I think it was the first championship for the hockey at that time. So that's all I have today. I told George 5 minutes. I had a tough time making 5 minutes. I don't think I made it to the 5-minute mark. So thank you again. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be here, be part of the Alumni Association now, and thanks again. Thank you.
Cara Campbell, Chelmsford High School, 1996. Cara was an active and committed student and athlete all 4 years at CHS. She played field hockey and softball, while concurrently maintaining a grade level that led her to being named to both the French and National Honor Societies. Subsequently, having earned a scholarship to the honors program at the University of New Hampshire, she studied communication, English, and theater. She was active in her sorority and acted in several UNH stage productions. Her induction into the Golden Key Honor Society was an outcome of her high level of academic achievement. Continuing her theater studies with the Moscow Art Theater in a partnership with the American Repertory Theater and the American Academy of Dramatic Arts led her to performances in stage productions and eventually behind-the-scenes study at Los Angeles Film School. She's been working as a producer, director, while continuing to write female perspective articles, which have been published in Huffington Post Woman and the LA Times. Her first novel, Seahorse, was published in May 2019 and is being adapted as a movie script. Cara has advocated for many charitable causes as well as developed a health and wellness program. This is Cara Campbell.
All right, I'm gonna try to do the whole 5-minute thing. My family and I aren't good with time, so Okay, so I've written this speech 4 or 5 times over the past 18 months. The last version was about how we all have big plans and how to keep at it and roll with the punches when the inevitable setbacks occur. But since writing that 3 weeks ago, a more important theme rises to the surface: the women in my life. I left LA, my home since 2001, a year ago because of COVID and because I wrote a book and screenplay I wanted to film here with Massachusetts-backed film financing. Loyalty to my roots matters. My best friend, Robin DiCaprio Cuccinata, invited me to live in her basement, which I call the Diva Dungeon because of its hardwood floors, tons of space, and hot tub-style bathtub. Her husband Anthony and 7-year-old little Gia took me in with open arms for an entire year, accepting nothing more than a utilities donation. In that year, I wrote a play, shot a short film that was a finalist at the Rhode Island Film Festival, shot a trailer for my screenplay, took my weekly Zoom acting class, met new friends here in Massachusetts, and met my last boyfriend with whom I had an incredible 6 months. She gave me a life. And it was at Chelmsford High that another best friend said to me 27 years ago, "Boys will come and go, but friends will always stay." That couldn't be more true than right now. Back then, all I wanted to do was be loved and accepted by boys, one in particular. But this grown woman is here to say today, in front of my best friend, family, and especially my beautiful 4-year-old and 9-year-old nieces, is that you must love and accept yourself first, or you will accept a lot of crap that is not for you and can drag you down when you're meant to be up. I left for the West Coast alone to pursue a dream at age 23, not knowing anyone in LA or how I'd survive. But it was by pursuing the unknown, following my heart despite my fears, that allowed me not only to live a life of adventure and surprise, but to learn what I was capable of. Without adversity and setbacks, we never learn who we really are. It's by taking them on, that we become the self we always dreamed of. And let me say this, I was not a star athlete here at CHS. Never made Student of the Month, wasn't in newspapers for being exceptional. I didn't get into Harvard or even Boston College. But in each new environment, whether at the University of New Hampshire, the Moscow Art Theater, or in LA, I expanded my vision of who I was. I rewrote myself. I want to encourage everyone to keep rewriting your definition of self till the day you die. Because this mediocre high school athlete who hated running has completed 16 marathons to date. This non-actor in high school was just cast in not 1, but 2 independent films out here in Massachusetts next month. And yet, the world often looks at an unmarried woman with all her accomplishments and still seems to ask, "What's wrong with you?" I'm here to tell my nieces and every girl out there, nothing. To come out of this life as a strong woman with our smiles, grace, loving hearts, honesty, kindness instead of bitterness, our loyalty and self-worth, to come out of this life with that still intact when the world throws the complete opposite at us, that is a win. And a testament to the strength of the individual female spirit. Quite frankly, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the support of the women sitting before me in this room. Now, my brother and father have also been top-notch. In fact, it was my younger brother, Chris, who co-signed my student loan for film school, a shot-in-the-dark career, months before his wedding. And he's a financial advisor who should have known better. But despite the financial risk he knew we were taking, he still believed in me, and I'll never forget it. My dad is the one having real business talks with me, not love life stuff, but my career passion. I appreciate that, Dad, and I encourage all dads to do the same with their daughters, not just their sons. But today, as I stand here, I just want to tip my cap to what makes me the strongest, luckiest woman I know. My female rock stars, mom, sister, best friend, nieces, and more. There's nothing more valuable or reaffirming than the people who show up for you. When you have that, you're undeniably the richest person in the world. I've seen people who have a lot of money without great value, seen a lot of people who have a lot of money, but without great values or great people showing up that they can count on. They're poor. And after observing the world from both coasts, I can tell you, money makes life easier, but can't buy happiness. And it can't buy loyalty, honesty, hard work, or self-worth. Money can't buy character. Our character and friendships are our most valuable assets, and I want to thank my friends and family for keeping mine in check. And if I never get to say this, holding an Oscar at the Academy Awards, I'd like to thank every teacher I've ever had. But never say never. Thank you.
Matthew Chesler, class of 1991. Matt Chesler, a member of the 1990 Division I State Championship Wrestling Team at CHS, also reached New England and All-American levels of success, having been named Globe, Herald, and Lowell Sun, all scholastic designations. He was a Dean's List student, was inducted into the Spanish Honor Society, and he wrote for The Voice, our student magazine here at the high school. At Hofstra University, Matt received the Barnum Award for outstanding contributions to student activities, wrote for Hofstra's student paper, The Chronicle. He volunteered with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Long Island and with Special Olympics of New York. After college, he served as an assistant coach in CHS's wrestling program, helping to continue the winning tradition. Up until March of 2021, he was a senior director of the communication team for NASCAR. While he led the team, it won numerous awards in the field. He is currently a senior director at BML Public Relations. Matt has dedicated a great deal of his time and effort to making sure that undeserved and homeless neighbors are provided what they need, and he has worked hard to raise funds for charitable causes such as Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. He continues to be a financial supporter of CHS's wrestling program. A great deal of pleasure to give you Matt Chesler.
George did threaten me about the 5-minute rule. We'll give it a go. Thank you, Mr. Simonian, for that kind introduction. It's a great, it's a pleasure to be here. You are a true CHS institution and a gem.
Thank you.
It's an honor and privilege to be part of the 2021 Chelmsford High School Alumni Association class and the 30th overall. I want to thank the Alumni Association, offer my congratulations to all of the inductees. It's especially a treat to be part of the class with Jeff Parks, who we were in the same class together. We grew up as kids, and it's great being back in touch with Jeff. Big thank you to Bruce Rich, fellow Hall of Fame alumni, inductee, legendary high school coach, many sports, we all know him, who spearheaded my nomination. I've known Bruce just about my entire life. I met him for the first time when I was about age 6 or 7 at a youth wrestling practice, mere feet from here. He encouraged me, mentored me, coached me to reach my maximum potential, and ultimately experience team and individual championship moments. Upon graduation, he invited me to be an assistant wrestling coach, and when I eventually moved away to start my professional career, we kept in close contact, remain good friends today. Bruce and his wife Peggy will always have a special place in my heart. I want to also thank fellow Hall of Famer Dennis King, and as well as John Schwartz for supporting my nomination. Dennis King was Bruce Rich's first New England champion back in 1983 and was one of my assistant coaches during my 4-year tenure. He set the ultimate bar in that wrestling room as far as I was concerned. I aspired every day to achieve great things. Just watching him getting beat up a little bit too. But he was a big reason for the things that I was able to achieve. John Schwartz, he's been a professional mentor to me for 20 years. He's a colleague and a friend of mine. I wouldn't be anywhere professionally without him. I'm fortunate to know him and his family. I want to also acknowledge Bruce McDonald, my first coach, Rob Russo, a coach on my team in high school, then AD Jack Fletcher, who seems to be pretty popular tonight so far. The Nolet family, Jonathan Grange and Jeff Cohen, both of them were friends of mine since 3rd grade. They remain great friends today. Jonathan is here. Appreciate you coming, Jonathan, with his wife, his new bride, Ellen. I look back on my 4 years at Chelmsford High School fondly and feel very fortunate to have attended a great public high school with my twin sister, Marlene. We had wonderful teachers and mentors who gave me the solid foundation to be successful at the next level and beyond. 2 teachers stood out to me above all, both in mathematics, which, if you know my family, they're laughing probably right now. I struggled mightily in math, and I still do. But the late Richard Dick McCaffrey, Algebra 2, Intro to Calculus, and fellow Hall of Famer Andrew Pasquale for geometry. Each demonstrated patience. They went the extra mile and taught in a way that made the material make sense, even for a guy who thought math was and still is a foreign language. I want to thank my family who are in attendance today, my father Walter, sisters Christine and Marlene, my nieces Amy and Ashley, my wife Marissa, who's getting a glimpse of her husband back in the day. Thank you to my brother-in-law Bob, who sacrificed today and is home babysitting not only his son, but my daughter, so we could be here today. And my brother Greg, who couldn't make the trip from Minnesota. We miss you. Wish you were here. If you ask any of my siblings, we were fortunate to have an immense support from our parents. Walter and the late Gail Chesler. Didn't matter what we were involved in, academics, sports, math club, theater, Spanish Honor Society course, didn't matter what it was. My parents were present for all of them. And if you ask my brothers and sisters, they made a profound impact on our lives, not only during our time at Chelmsford High School, but in our lives today. Lastly, to my mother, Gail, who we miss deeply every day. I know she's smiling right now, not necessarily because of what's happening today, but because there's an event here today that's allowed her family, our family to be together, and our family, that means everything. Thank you.
Daniel Curran, CHS 1995. Dan was first and foremost well-respected for his unparalleled work ethic. His accomplishments on the football field played an important role in the success of the CHS teams his senior year. He was a part of 4 consecutive MVC championships under Tom Cato, culminating in an Eastern Massachusetts Division II state title as a senior team captain. Dan was named Boston Globe, Boston Herald, and Lowell Sun Player of the Year, in addition to earning All-American honors in the USA Today after leading Eastern Massachusetts Division II in scoring. He chose to attend the University of New Hampshire on a full athletic scholarship after receiving over 20 Division I scholarship offers and being named the 6th best prospect in New England by Super Prep magazine. During his time at UNH, Dan earned All-Atlantic 10 honors his senior year after being among the nation's leaders in touchdowns with 16, and become just the 5th player in its program history at the time to rush for over 1,000 yards in a season. Dan went on to have a 10-year career as a professional, spending time in the NFL with the Seattle Seahawks and the New Orleans Saints, as well as the New Orleans Voodoo and the Georgia Force of the Arena Football League. During Dan's time in the NFL, he was named first-team All-League after leading the league in rushing and becoming just the third player in league history to rush for over 20 touchdowns in a season. At the conclusion of Dan's playing career, he entered the collegiate coaching ranks at Merrimack College, where he became the offensive coordinator of one of the top-scoring offenses in the country. He was later promoted to head coach, where he has gone on to become the all-time winningest coach in program history at Merrimack. More recently, he has spearheaded a successful transition to the Division I level, including the program's first 25 wins this past fall, defeating Holy Cross on ESPN. In addition to their on-field success, the Merrimack football program has been recognized for their exceptional community service record, while working with organizations like Special Olympics, Habitat for Humanity, Team Impact, and You're With Us. Dan has also volunteered his time coaching youth sports teams over the past decade for Chelmsford, Pop Warner, Chelmsford Youth Lacrosse, and Chelmsford Youth Soccer. Dan's exceptional personal attributes are influencing newer generations to the benefit of all of us. He wanted everyone to know that he was very disappointed that he was not be able to attend the ceremony today in person due to his work obligations. As I mentioned, he is coaching his football team right this very moment. He also wanted me to convey how much this honor means to both he and his family. His direct quote, "Chelmsford is a special place, and this community has made a huge impact on me and my career." That's Danny Curran. Excuse me, just a moment. I want to get my act together here. Rebecca Friedman, class of 1998. Becky Friedman challenged herself academically while at CHS, successfully taking honors and AP courses and becoming vice president of the National Honor Society. She took full advantage of the theater offerings and worked both on stage and as a director. She sang in the treble choir, participated in the annual musical every year, and had roles both junior and senior year. While at Tufts University, from which she graduated cum laude, she majored in African history, was a member of the Golden Key National Honor Society, and a writer and editor of the Weekly Observer. Becky made significant contributions to research in arts education and volunteered by blending theater and community service. Her study abroad in South Africa culminated with sustainable arts curriculum for poverty-stricken children. Becky's work as a head writer of over 100 scripts on Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, a 3-time Emmy-nominated favorite for preschool kids and their parents, grounded in the work of Fred Rogers, is only one of many projects she has worked on in the field of early childhood development and media. She continues to develop new programs to the present. Becky Friedman.
Thank you to Mr. Simonian and the Chelmsford High School Alumni Association for selecting me for this honor. Thank you to Bob Pariseau for nominating me and then repeatedly assuring me it wasn't a mistake. I feel truly humbled to be inducted in the company of such impressive people, especially considering that my most notable contribution in my industry is, if you have to go potty, stop and go right away. I'm grateful to have been given this opportunity to reflect on my experience at Chelmsford High and how it shaped me. As it happens, my children, Meadow, who is 6, and Levi, who is 3, have recently started in-person school. Because of that, lots of school questions have been coming up. What school did I go to? What did I like about it? What snacks did I eat? And as I've thought about my education at CHS, one thing has stood out, besides the snacks. It's the teachers, who guided me, inspired me, and set me on my future course. So I've made my own little CHS Hall of Fame. First, my AP Calculus teacher, Mr. Pasquale, who famously took the first part of every class to ask his students if there was anything we wanted to talk about. We talked about things as mundane as how Mr. Pasquale organized his closet, which I still remember in great detail, to interpersonal conflicts happening among the students, things we probably weren't even discussing with our parents. Mr. Pasquale didn't just want to engage us in the curriculum, he wanted us to engage, period. and he got us to do it through what was important to us. In my work in preschool television, I've learned that kids will only absorb a lesson if it's rooted in something they care about. Preschoolers lead with their hearts, and it's our job as writers to engage their heart in order to activate their minds. Mr. Pasquale knew the value of connecting to content through personal experience, and now I do too. Next in my CHS Hall of Fame is my AP European history teacher, Mr. Lemaire, who made history as vibrant and compelling as the episodes of General Hospital I watched every day after school. Mr. Lemaire's storytelling made me excited to learn. It's the reason I majored in African history at Tufts, something that sent me to Africa for a semester to understand the people connected to the historical narratives I was studying, changing my life, breaking open my perspective, and deepening my compassion. In preschool TV, one of the things I try to do is tell kids stories about people and places that may be different from anything they've ever seen before, to make their world just a little bit bigger. Mr. Lemaire knew the value of good storytelling, and now I do too. And then there was my AP English teacher, Mr. Kamal, best known for his quirky lectures and, of course, his IROC Z, which he frequently referenced in his quirky lectures. Mr. Kamal taught me about working hard. Because of Mr. Kamal, I held myself to a higher standard of learning and found that there was value in pushing myself to do better, even when difficult. In preschool TV, we talk a lot about how to teach kids to have grit, the term Angela Duckworth famously christened in her TED Talk, meaning the intersection of passion and perseverance that brings you through challenges. Or, in the words of Glennon Doyle, the knowledge that we can do hard things. Mr. Kamal knew the value of grit, and now I do too. The last member of my own personal Hall of Fame was Chris Chu, who wasn't my teacher, but my creative mentor as the head of the CHS Drama Guild. Chris was cool. Apologies to Mr. Pasquale, Mr. Kamal, and Mr. Lemaire, but before Chris Chu, I didn't know teachers could be that cool. Chris grew my confidence, my creativity, and helped me imagine that a life in the arts and in education could be in my future. His voice was certainly in my head when years later I became a teacher myself, teaching preschoolers an arts-based curriculum. When I made the leap from teaching to television, I told myself that I was still teaching, just with a bigger classroom. And as my career progressed, I worked on shows that celebrated art, music, and theater. Chris knew the value of arts and education, and now I do too. While making television for 5-year-olds isn't the most glamorous, I love it because you have the opportunity to meet kids where they are, tell them stories that make them laugh and feel and learn, and then imagine that when they turn off their screens, they'll move into the world kinder, more creative, and more knowledgeable. I'm certain all my teachers at CHS felt the same way about their work. They knew the value of creating the next generation of good citizens and good humans, and now, thanks to CHS, I do too. Before I close, I would be remiss if I didn't say a few more thank yous. To Bonnie and David Marks, who were the very best advice givers and bonus parents during my time at CHS, thank you. To my older brother Josh, who set the bar high so that when I came through CHS and heard my teachers say, "Oh, you're Josh Friedman's sister," I knew I had to live up to the name. To my parents, who didn't bat an eyelash when I told them I was going to be studying impractical African history, or living in an African township typically too dangerous for white people, or quitting my steady job as a preschool teacher to move to New York with no plan, or moving myself, my husband, and their grandkids 3,000 miles away to LA. Thank you. To my incredible husband, Adam, my biggest cheerleader and comic relief, who is entertaining our 2 little kids as we speak so I can record this speech. Thank you. And last, to Lance Wilder, who I don't know and who doesn't know me, but when I was in 4th grade became Chelmsford famous as a background designer of The Simpsons. And every week when my family gathered around the television to watch, we would point to his name in the credits, the only real live example I had of someone from Chelmsford who had made it in television. Thank you. I'm grateful for this honor, and I wish I could be there in person today. Thank you.
Terry McSheehy, CHS class of 1964. There was a tradition of intergenerational involvement in the life of the church at North Chelmsford Congregational for the McSheehy family as Terry grew up. The McSheehy team set up, served, and broke down for suppers, breakfasts, and fairs. Shows were staged and lit as well. Terry continues to support North Congo's bean suppers and quietly hosts the ladies' building and filling his dining room with baskets for the May breakfast. After-school jobs meant that life was very busy for him, and they continued through college as he commuted to Salem State. At this juncture, Terry and friends worked together to establish the CYBL, Chesler Youth Basketball League, formed from the former PYL and CYO basketball leagues. During this time, he also volunteered to coach with Harry Ayot's Youth Football League. Following college, he joined the Air Force Security Service. This led to his being assigned to Kadena Air Force Base on the island of Okinawa, south of mainland Japan, to support the military efforts in Vietnam. Following his service, Terry began a long career in the defense aerospace manufacturing industry, which continues today. He has been happy to be involved, a member of the CHS for 30 years, and he's been our president for 20. And the association would not be what it is today without his leadership. So I, with a great deal of pleasure and pride, I introduce Terry McSheehy.
Good afternoon. I want to congratulate my fellow inductees. I am sure they are all as in awe of this honor as I am. I want to thank Mr. Simonian and Mr. Parasov for nominating me. To say that I feel inadequate to receive this honor is an understatement. I embrace the honor, but am truly dubious of my deserving it. That said, I want to say that I was truly raised by a village, and all of those in my village deserve to partake in this honor with me. There are too many to single out, but I am sure they know who they are. Many of them are already in heaven. I will thank my parents for their support and being great role models in how to give back for the gifts that you have received in life. I want to thank my lovely wife, Lynn Marshall McSheehy, for her love and support through our 50 years of marriage. I want to thank my daughters, Katie LaRochelle and Jessica Deliano, for being the wonderful adults they have become. I also want to thank my wonderful son-in-laws, Derek LaRochelle and Brian Deliano, for their contributions to our family. And I would be remiss if I did not mention my 3 grandchildren, Jaden, Sarah, and Paige, who are amazing individuals in their own right, and I am sure are going to become just as amazing adults. Thank you.
Stanley Anderkunis, CHS 1964. Stan came to CHS at the beginning of his junior year and made the most of it, academically and athletically. He debated competitively and played football, where he was an all-league end. The fall of 1963 was the season of CHS's first untied and undefeated season. Stan played football and ran track at Holy Cross, while also volunteering at St. Vincent Hospital's pediatric unit. While working at various jobs, he completed his work for his Juris JD at Suffolk University. His law office was established in 1982 and was admitted to practice in state and federal courts, the First Court of Appeals, and the United States Supreme Court. Stan worked hard to quicken the pace of compliance after the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act. He has represented many clients in appellate work. He has worked as a defense attorney on many criminal cases and has worked to make sure that neither homelessness nor poverty has prevented defendants from getting representation. The Middlesex Defense Attorneys Incorporated, a nonprofit organization which Stan formed and led for 10 years, as unpaid CEO, has made sure that proper representation has been available for all. Stan was presented the Lifetime Achievement Award by the Bar in 2017. He has been a volunteer youth coach and a church council member. Stan has officiated boys and men's lacrosse since 1982. This is Stan Anderkunis.
Thank you, George. I wanted to thank the Alumni Association. I wanted to thank the committee. I wanted to thank in particular Peter McHugh, Richie Malloy, and George Dixon, along with George, in terms of my being here this afternoon. As George mentioned, my career at Chelmsford High School was somewhat brief in the sense that I moved in for my junior year and then into my senior year. But the aspect of what your high school can mean to you, and does your high school stay with you and have an impact upon your life, I'd like to relate an actual factual account to you. It may sound a little fictitious at the end, but it is not, I assure you. As George mentioned, the primary basis of my practice is criminal defense. And in 2016, I was doing work for the United States District Court in Boston, and I was representing a number of indigent defendants. I was asked earlier in that year to represent a young lady who was charged out of a very complex conspiracy out of Georgia. But to understand this particular case and what happened, you'd have to go back to 1962 and 1963. Here, actually, we should have Bruce Springsteen singing Glory Days. But in 1962 and 1963, perhaps the best high school football teams in eastern Massachusetts were Wilmington High School and Chelmsford High School. Wilmington High School won the game in 1962 and went on to establish a record of undefeated, for a length of undefeated games. In 1963, the game between Chelmsford and Wilmington for that weekend was the featured game in eastern Massachusetts and was on AM radio. It wasn't streamed, it wasn't anything else, but it was large and big. The game ended up 15-12, Chelmsford won, and I was a receiver for Chelmsford in those years, and I was in on both plays. It was effective to say that I had a hand in both touchdowns for that day. Following 1963, of course, the end of that season, President Kennedy is assassinated in November of that year. There's graduation in 1964. There's a war that breaks out in Vietnam that escalates in 1964. A number of activities in our lives start moving on. 1968 is graduation from college. There was something called the draft in those days that you have to be deeply concerned about, where you're going to be picked up and sent overseas. 1972, there is Watergate. There's marriage. There's family. I was very fortunate to have, a son, Joe, a daughter, Pam, and move on with life. There's buying a house. There is a multiplicity of things that take place. Now we step back into 2016 when I'm representing this young lady in federal court in Boston. And again, the complexity of the conspiracy she's in is that a group out of Atlanta, Georgia, recruited very attractive younger Hispanic women and were putting them in high-end SUVs, being Porsches, BMWs, and Audis, and realized that they could have them transport with secret compartment in those cars drugs throughout the East Coast and back and forth to Houston, and they were less likely to get stopped by law enforcement. What they didn't realize is law enforcement, of course, could tap their cell phones and catch into them. She had been stopped transporting $700,000 on the Mass Pike within the car. She was pregnant. She had a 2-year-old son, and her mother was helping her, and her mother was ill. She was going to go back to Atlanta, Georgia, which was one of the fiercest and most difficult district courts to deal with, and generally would send everybody to a maximum term of imprisonment. She was facing a minimum of 7 years, would likely lose custody of both children at that point in time. Due to a series of motions, et cetera, we're able to keep her in front of a very sympathetic judge in Boston. Went down to Atlanta, and Atlanta agreed she could stay in Massachusetts. She just had to plead guilty, commit no more crimes, and then they would still argue for committed sentence, but it looked like the judge would give her a probationary period. Approximately 2 weeks before she was to be sentenced on a Thursday night, I get a call from her. She's crying. She's very, very upset. She had been working at Victoria's Secrets in Westwood, and she had been caught assisting a friend to take out $650 worth of items and not pay for them. And Westwood was going to charge her, which meant she would end up going back to Atlanta, again lose her children, and at that point in time to go off for 6 or 7 years to federal prison. would I come down or go down to see the young officer who was in charge of that case the next day? I did. He was a gentleman probably in his late 30s. He was a detective for the Westwood. He listened to me. He was very, sympathetic, but he said, I can't do anything for you. It's our policy. We help the merchants in this community. We support them, and if you do that type of activity, you're going to be charged. And he said, there's nothing I can do. And I talked to him. I said, well, the weekend's coming up. If there's anything you want from me, if there's any other questions I can answer for you, I gave him my business card. I said, please call me. He said, well, I'll be busy with a family function. If I get to anything, or if I have any questions, I'll call you. Monday morning, I get a call. And he said, can you come down to Westwood? I think we can help you. I went down to Westwood, very excited. I thought, my speech must have really, really impacted him and the chief. And he said, I want you to know, he said, I went home for a family function. He said, I grew up in Wilmington. My father grew up in Wilmington. He's a retired police officer. I showed him your card. He said he had never had any business with you as an attorney, but he remembered you from the 1963 game. He was the defensive back that had played against you in that particular game. And he thought it would be fitting and appropriate if I could assist you now, today. And I talked to Chief. We're not going to charge her if she'll pay the $650 by Thursday of this week. She did. She got probation. A year later, I decided I would look her up and see how she was doing. She was out in Dedham. I went there, and she had the 2 children. She was now married, and the mother was living with her. I didn't stay long. I left, and my thought was, as I left, those 2 children have the chance to grow up in a normal family life. And what they'll never know is they owe it all to a group of young men who played football for Chelmsford High School in 1963. Thank you.
Good, I'm back in order here. Jeffrey Parks, CHS, class of 1991. Jeff Parks used his time at CHS well, playing varsity hockey and working various after-school jobs. After he graduated from high school, he enlisted in the United States Army Infantry Reserve and became a tow gunner, reaching the rank of E4 specialist. His 6-year military service afforded him the opportunity to attend Bridgewater State, from which he graduated as a physical education and health teacher. He continued his education, earning both his master's degree and his doctorate degree. Jeff has worked in the Chesler schools as both a teacher and assistant principal prior to his current position as principal of the Parker Middle School here in Chelmsford. He was also the rugby coach in both Harvard and Bentley, and is now the rugby coach at CHS. His membership in the New England Merrimack Middle School Conference and Northeastern Massachusetts Law Enforcement Council as a school theater assessment and response system team member, as an Alice alert lockdown informed counter evacuee trainee of safety protocols, add to his significance as a member of the leadership team of the public schools. He's one of our leaders here in Chelmsford in the Chelmsford Public Schools. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Jeffrey Parks.
Thank you. Just a quick acknowledgement to the audience. You're doing a great job. There's only 2 of us to go. Take a deep breath, hang in there. You're doing great. So welcome, friends, family, the thousands of viewers who are watching us on, thanks to the friends at Chelmsford Telemedia. I'd like to say congratulations to my fellow CHS grads, again, especially my good buddy Matty Chesler, who also, as you can see, has the official class of 91 haircut. Dean Blagg knows the haircut also. I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Simonian, Mr. McSheehy, and everyone who donates their time to CHS and our entire community. You're the reason why this group is truly unmatched by any other high school association. I'd also like to thank our Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Hirsch, for nominating me for this honor. I'm flattered and humbled to be recognized by this group. So I'd like to start by just sharing the most important thing, probably the greatest thing, that happened to me here at CHS. I met my lovely wife Angela in the gym right over there in 1980-something. She's the class of 92. I'd like to say that that was, the rest is history. However, it wasn't that easy. Over time, I think I wore her down with my relentless commitment to the mohawk and my love of sweatpants. It was probably a combination of both, but somehow it worked out for me. It worked out for all of us, and we now have two beautiful daughters, Ella and Sadie, who are both current students here at Chelmsford High, and they give me their unconditional love, encouragement, laugh at the majority of my dad jokes, so please blame them for what you're experiencing right now. I'd also like to quickly mention my dear friend Sean Maccarell, class of 90, who lost his battle with cancer back in 2009. I mentioned Sean because not only did this Alumni Association allow me to start a scholarship in his honor, but if he was here, he would be sitting right there in the front, laughing uncontrollably at the fact that I am up here right now. So high school for me, it wasn't easy. I struggled academically. I had a lot of stuff going on I was dealing with. Single mom who somehow worked 20 hours a day at the Ground Round, Howard Johnson's, making it work. And when I wasn't there, sweeping floors, bussing tables, washing dishes, I was playing hockey. And I had a lot more about that, but then I saw a coin on the list, and I cut all the hockey stuff out. I was not going to bring that up. Thanks, Keith, thanks. But it's fair. So school, quite frankly, for me at the time, it just wasn't a priority because I didn't get it. But I kept plugging along. I had a tremendous community of friends, their families, teachers, the principal, the deans, my coaches, everybody. And I didn't want to let them down, so I kept battling. Make no mistake about it, for me, the Chelmsford High community extended way beyond the walls of this school. Somewhere between basic training and Bridgewater State, it clicked, and I recognized why education was important. It gives me the opportunity to make my own decisions. I am not suggesting they're always good decisions. Believe me, they're not, but they're mine, and I have the opportunity to make them. Gives me options, allows me to choose what I want to do next. I also understand very clearly that a positive attitude, perseverance, and a good sense of humor will take you anywhere you want to go. So now I dedicate my time, my career, to helping students have a positive school experience no matter what their struggles may be. Hopefully, I help some of them figure it out just a little bit quicker than I did. So before I wrap up my just under 5 minutes of fame, because I timed it, I'd like to mention the new rugby program at CHS, established in 2019. The sport of rugby has had a profound impact on my life, on and off the pitch. I fell in love with the game at Bridgewater State, and I never looked back. It's given me the opportunity to compete as a player, to coach at the college level at Harvard and Bentley, and now the opportunity to teach the game to the students and families at Chelmsford High. Beyond helping to introduce the sport, thanks to the support of Principal Murray, our athletic director Dan Hart, Superintendent Lang, I also have the privilege of serving as the head coach. It's honestly a dream come true. So not only do I get to work with the students and families and stay involved in rugby, I get to keep in touch with them. So just a quick perspective, I meet some of our current players as fifth graders coming into Parker as nervous little kids, 10 years old. Now, I write their letters of recommendation, I help them prepare for interviews, and I even get to go watch some of them play at the colleges they're going to now. It's awesome. So again, congratulations to my fellow inductees. I'd like to say shout out to my Chelmsford High buddies, the Good Time Boys, and all my Bridgewater State and my whole rugby community. And to my Parker and CPS colleagues, thank you for your support. I appreciate you listening. Enjoy the rest of the ceremony. Let's go Lions.
Jennifer Petro Roy, CHS class of 2000. Jennifer Clancy Petro Roy was an accomplished student athlete. Her academic record earned her membership in the National and Spanish Honor Societies. Jen was a member of both the chorus and the treble choir and participated in all of the musicals. She was a successful varsity swimmer as well. She was active in St. Mary's Youth Leadership and earned the Girl Scout Silver Award. As a senior, she was the assistant editor-in-chief of the yearbook. Jen's college career brought both struggle and great resilience as she developed anorexia nervosa early and experienced a few low points before treatment and to greater strength. She eventually graduated summa cum laude. The wisdom she has developed as a result of her experience is shared generously and well in her writings, both fiction and nonfiction. She's an accomplished author. Her work as a librarian with children and teens gave her a foundation upon which to build her important platform for helping young people deal with challenges. She continues to speak with groups needing guidance in the areas of eating disorder, recovery, as well as volunteering in her daughter's schools. Jen is an accomplished author, and she's just an outstanding young lady. My pleasure. Jen Clancy.
There's a lot of pressure being the last one. I know you all want me to go fast. First of all, I want to extend my sincere thanks to the CHS Alumni Association and to Mr. Simonian for organizing this wonderful afternoon so many belated months later. Rather than being sad about missing out on any type of dinner, I'm extremely grateful that you've all put so much effort into rescheduling this event again and again to find the best and safest way to honor all of us. I also want to express my appreciation for being honored with such a talented group of inductees. You've all contributed to our community and our society in so many varied ways, and I extend my appreciation to all of you for joining me up here. I think appreciation is the main word that's in my head this afternoon. I've attended a few of these induction ceremonies in the past for some of my family members. My dad, my uncle, and my aunt have all been inducted in the past. And I never quite dreamed that I'd be up on this stage, or any stage, myself. But one thing that I've been trying to do lately, something I've been working on my entire life, and that's still a work in progress, is to acknowledge myself when I have accomplished something. So instead of feeling like I'm not good enough to be up here, which is appropriately enough the title of one of my books, I'm going to be proud that I was acknowledged today in this wonderful group of inductees. I think we're all works in progress, an attitude that I always try to directly apply to my job writing books for kids, and I think that CHS and the Chelmsford school system does a great job of instilling in their kids. I've heard a lot of my children's teachers talk about the growth mindset, which is really wonderful to hear. My books are works in progress, with the first drafts of everything a total mess, with characters' names and hair colors, and even plot points changing throughout those first pages. But as I write, I refine what I want my story to be. I stop and pause and plan and alter. I make things better. I try to teach these lessons in my books too. I write contemporary middle grade, which basically means that I tackle real life stuff in my stories. My books for middle schoolers helped out with issues such as self-esteem, realizing you're LGBTQ, questioning religion, recovering from an eating disorder, and dealing with a parent's alcoholism. For kids, life is a work in progress, and I'm so grateful I've had the opportunity to help my readers realize that they don't have to be perfect, and that it's okay to struggle and grow as you move forward in life. Chelmsford, along with its school system, was an amazing part of my growing up as well. I've had wonderful teachers throughout my experience here, wonderful coaches, and wonderful classes and lessons that have taught the importance of critical thinking, creativity, and asking questions. My appreciation for Chelmsford can also be evidenced in how my husband, also a CHS graduate, and I returned to town to raise our 2 daughters here. I'm forever grateful to the many dedicated teachers I had, from Miss Sefnorowski in 5th grade, who first told me that I could be a writer, to Mrs. McCoy in my freshman year English, who helped nurture my love of reading, and to Mr. Pasquale, I think that's his 3rd shout out tonight, who helped whose humor and love of his subject matter helped me realize that I could push myself even when material got really difficult. I want to thank Beth and Bob Paraso for the nomination and their hard work on the application, along with my family, of course. I first want to thank my parents, Ann and Jack Clancy, who took me to numerous activities throughout high school, throughout growing up, whether it was 6 a.m. swim practice, picking me up at chorus at 9 o'clock at night at the high school, helping me with my homework. They taught me the value of hard work, of kindness, and of basically just kind of appreciating where you are in this wonderful community that we live in. I want to thank the many aunts, uncles, and cousins who went through the school system themselves. Growing up, I was often asked which Clancy I was, who were my parents, who was I related to, and I think my cousins who came after me had to suffer through those same questions. I want to thank my in-laws, Ann and Tom Petroy, who couldn't be here tonight, my grandparents, Joan McClure, the late Dick McClure, and the late Ellie and John Clancy, who were wonderful supports to me growing up and who came to basically all of my events and activities. And of course, I want to thank my husband, Brian, and my daughters, Ellie and Lucy. You three encourage me every day, and no award or honor is more important than your love and respect. I see them looking up right now because they're very excited about the shout out. But of course, I do appreciate this honor, and I'm proud to take my spot amongst years of amazing CHS graduates, teachers, and staff. And I look forward to celebrating others in the years to come. Thank you.
Congratulations to the new members of our Hall of Fame. I would like to thank a number of people who helped put this together. Bruce McMaster and Howie Neal, sitting right behind me. George Dixon, Bob Paraso, Ed Scarlin, Laurie Shuffrin, Rebecca Warren, Lynn McSheehy, and Bernie Battle. Chelmsford Telemedia, and in particular, Tom Peterson and Pete Padula. This has been just a great afternoon. This is different than what we've done in the past. Our past Halls of Fame have been an evening dinner at the hotel in Lowell, but because of COVID-19, well, we've had to suffer too. What a great afternoon, really. This is what makes Chelmsford High School so special. You heard from 9 folks here that just pictured a number of different areas of Chelmsford High School and what it's done for folks. It is a very special school. I often say this is why we bleed maroon and white. I was a teacher in Chelmsford, ended up as an administrator, and it's such a warm feeling to be able to do this, to see the accomplishments of our students and what they've done beyond high school. At graduation, it's called commencement, the beginning. And here you can see what the beginning has brought. We have a number of people on our list of coming up. It grows every year, bigger and bigger. Okay, I wish we could do 20 of these every year, but that's just out of the question. So again, thank you for all of your patience, and thank you to the folks that's watching this on TV. It's just been a great evening, a great afternoon, and again, next year we'll be back hopefully to our usual dinner induction ceremony. So I guess this closes it. Thank you very much for your patience.